And we are here for Game 4 between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Utah Jazz. The Jazz went down 2-0 at home quickly in this series, but they came back in OKC and took Game 3. Big game. Do we expect the same result tonight for the Jazz to take Game 4 in OKC?
Well, I would expect this to be a very close game. I would expect to see the Jazz stars, Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, to really step up here and try to send this back to Utah. Oklahoma City, obviously stealing both games in Utah in blowout fashion. Chris Paul struggled in every game so far, other than late in the fourth quarters. They've been led by their bench and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and obviously Danilo Gallinari. Gallinari struggled in Game 3 at home, and we'll see if he can get it going here in Game 4 to try and wrap up this 4 versus 5 seed between the Utah Jazz and the Oklahoma City Thunder.
And as we look at some of our viewers' brackets, most people either have the Jazz or the Thunder in 5. And we had a few viewers who had the Jazz in 4 even, and that's obviously not happening anymore. And under 2 people had the Thunder in 4, so this would be a huge win for those people for points-wise. All right, and we're going to get started at half court as we have Rudy Gobert and Steven Adams ready for the tip. It'll be Jazz ball to start. And big game, you want star power in this one, but here's a start by Bojan Bogdanovic as he went on a key 8-0 run by himself in the third quarter of Game 3 to really give the Utah Jazz a huge lead, as well as Mike Conley's performance overall in Game 3 led them to that game. It wasn't even Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell in that one, so would you expect that's the way that the Jazz have to win, or do you want Rudy Gobert and Mitchell to lead this one?
Well, I'd like to see Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell lead this one. Is obviously Bojan really took over the game that third quarter. Mitchell finishes there with a nice layup to put the Jazz up 5. But that's another key scorer for the Jazz is Bogdanovic. You'd like to see him score some more. Obviously that third quarter run was one of the main reasons why the Jazz finally run. Is he
Oh, and
really
here's a
started in game 1 and 2
steal.
and
It does go into the hands
the
of
turnover right
Bojan.
there, yes. And here come
Over
the
to
Jazz
Mitchell.
again. Mitchell. Heel
He
drive
can't
layup is
hit.
no good.
You would have liked to
Steven
see him
Adams with
take
some
a
great
pull-up
defense there.
mid-range on that one. It'll lead to SGA
And
dunk.
Gilgeous-Alexander on the other end finished with a two-handed flush. And just like that, a quick answer from Oklahoma City after a mishap there by the Jazz on the
But
offensive
Bojan
end.
Bogdanovic takes a
Oh,
fadeaway.
Bogdanovic
Can't
fadeaway through, no good.
finish. Big game. The Thunder succeed by attacking the fast break, and they just keep it up with SGA in the fast break.
Well, obviously, SGA is a huge point of emphasis here for this offense in Oklahoma City as when Chris Paul or Danilo Gallinari is not shooting. Gilgeous-Alexander has proven he can take over games as he's averaged a little under 20 a game so far this year. And in this series, he's been there. He hasn't really not shown up, but he's also really not been there. He's been there. Scoring about between 6 and 10 points a game. Hasn't really been a superstar like Oklahoma City has really hoped him to be, but he's still super young. As they get by Bojan open for 3 again. No point.
Oh, and Rudy Gobert with a tough
and
finish.
I believe Donovan Mitchell got that offensive rebound in addition to Rudy Gobert, who was able to finish with a tough-handed layup. Right there over Steven Adams and Rudy Gobert. That's what you like to see out of Rudy Gobert. Finally gets a pass to down low after offensive rebound and able to finish there.
And that's going to be a good... Wow, and he hits a tough contested shot there. And SGA's been the key in the OKC offense so far.
Well, and obviously we know SGA can vocal point of an offense. He's proven that this year with a couple of huge games as there's a missed 3 by Mitchell. And it'll be interesting to see if that's where the Thunder go as he drives again.
It's going to do it again. Wow.
Again.
And we saw Donovan Mitchell actually pass the ball to Rudy Gobert, and that's been absent in this. We'll see if that continues on their chemistry. But it'll be a turnover by Mitchell into Danilo Gallinari's hands.
Oh, behind the
Oh,
back pass, and Dort is fouled down low by Royce O'Neal. He's going to line for two.
see if Dort can hit the second free throw. He can't. You know, with Mike Conley's dominance offensively and defensively in game 3, you'd like to see him come out and play once again. But Mitchell drives in and
Mitchell
can't
takes a tough
finish.
shot there. You've seen Mitchell and Bojan Bogdanovic be really the keys here so far for the offense for the Jazz, and Gallinari with a fall-away jumper there gets it to go, puts the Jazz up, the Thunder up 4. But for the Thunder side, really their offense has been SGA. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has really been the only offense other than that Gallinari shot. Mitchell dribbles off his own foot, goes to Bojan's hands, and Mitchell has it back now.
And I don't think we've even seen Donovan Mitchell's peak game in this, as he's really struggled as a volume shooter in this series, shooting below 40% in each game, or at 40%.
Is he Dort there? Dort finishes with a layup there to put the Thunder up 6, and Dort was the key in Game 3. He had 9 points in a key stretch run there in the second quarter, I believe. Dort really went off. Here comes Bojan, can't finish the layup with Chris Paul, who came over late on the help side, and you'd like to see Bojan finish that matchup. A lob. Chris Paul from way back, almost at about half court, throws a lob to Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who finishes with a two-handed jam. And Shea Gilgeous-Alexander showing up here in Game 4 has the Thunder up 8 in the first quarter. And how about this from the young star out of Kentucky?
And the Jazz want to be careful here, as this is an 8-point game, and they call a quick timeout. And they cannot let this deficit grow any further, as this is a reminder of Game 1 and 2's 10-point plus wins for OKC. And they can't finish again.
And Gilgeous-Alexander grabs the rebound. And let's
Why?
be honest. A great pass to Dennis Schroeder, who finishes with a jam. Two rare things you see right there. Dennis Schroeder does not usually finish with a slam, but he does that time. And now the Thunder up 10 here in the first quarter. But for the Thunder, we have seen SGA can rebound the ball very well and is a great passer. He has proven this year that he is more than just an offensive scorer. He is a complete player, and obviously the Jazz are going to need to do something to slow him down, because he has really taken over this game and has the Thunder up 10 here in Game 4.
And I'll be honest, the way to slow him down is by scoring. Most of his points have come out of the fast break on either rebounds, steals, or blocks of the OKC defense, and SGA is taking advantage of that every single time. And the Jazz were shooting 3 for 10 before that shot, while the Thunder were shooting 7 for 8 in this first quarter. The defense is clearly an issue. Oh, and that's going to go through as well for SGA. Wow, he's on fire.
And SGA, again, drives by whoever was guarding him there, and a tough floater over Rudy Gobert and gets it to fall. And SGA showing out here in this first quarter at home here in Game 4, trying to close out the Thunder. Or the Jazz, I mean.
Clarkson, deep three. Can't hit, and the rebound goes to Dennis Schroeder, but he'll just hold on to it. As the Jazz down 10 after 1. It's going to be Thunder ball to start the second quarter. We'll see if the Jazz have any response from their bench. Once again, we see Rudy Gobert play the whole first quarter and start the second quarter, as he has each game in this series.
And it's blocked. Blocked. Rudy Gobert. There we go. Finally, we're seeing Rudy Gobert's defensive presence known. Defensive Player of the Year ×2. And he has really not been known to play defense this series. And a tough follow-up layup there by Moody on the offensive rebound, who can't finish. And the Thunder yet again with a great pass up ahead.
But it's a missed layup.
Diallo. Diallo misses layup. And if you're the Jazz here, you really got to cut in this lead at halftime. You cannot go into the halftime down 10. They're going to need a huge second quarter here to try and cut in this lead as Ed Davis tries to
Wow,
drive.
that's not
Take
the
a
shot
tough
you need,
shot.
but he's there
Offensive
again.
rebound. Oh, as you see a poor box out there by Mike Muscala and Ed Davis, able to follow up his miss with a rebound, offensive rebound, and put back flush.
Oh, and a nice defensive possession by him, but he gets the rebound off of Steven Adams' hands. Moutier in, takes the mid-range, but it's going to go right to Gobert, and he finishes through the contact. Jazz living off the offensive glass. I guess that's how they're going to have to score.
And you'd like to see more of that out of Rudy Gobert so far this series. We have not seen very many offensive rebounds with how great Steven Adams has played against him. And right there, Dennis Schroeder. Oh, Dennis Schroeder can't finish. You'd like to see Rudy Gobert be a lot more aggressive on the offensive rebounding, and this turnover there by Moutier trying to get it up ahead.
And seems we have a report from our sideline reporter, R. Hayes. R. Hayes, what do you have for us right now?
Thanks, Big Jake. I caught up with Thunder star Terrence Ferguson to discuss his rape allegations. He said he didn't want to talk about, or he said he wanted to thank God that there was no evidence of the situation that frankly did not happen. He was excited to be able to focus solely on basketball for once in his career. He said that the amount of athletes accused of rape is ridiculous, that every female that falsely accuses someone of rape should be in prison. Some powerful words from a man who was able to stay out of jail himself. Back to you guys in the booth.
Thanks for that report,
It's Gallinari.
R. Hayes.
Gallinari follows Joe Ingles down there. And yeah, obviously we had that breaking news in Game 3 about Terrence Ferguson obviously avoiding rape charges from his 2018 allegations. And, he told Billy Donovan he was pretty confident that he'd be able to play this whole series. And obviously that held true as those rape charges came back negative. And
what
a
a
tough
finish through
there
the
by
D.
Dennis Schroeder.
We'll see if Utah can keep this deficit down, as it's a 6-point game right now, and they have brought in some of their starters. Oh, and Ingles, tough shot, but Ed Davis throws it down one-handed.
And this time, Ed Davis gets ahead of Steven Adams there and able to throw down a one-handed finish off the offensive rebound. Ed Davis showing his presence known here in the offensive glass. And then it's something you'd like to see more of. That was Chris Paul with a nice little two-handed pull-up shot right there. His first shot of the game, and it's in. And Chris Paul obviously not shooting the ball very much here so far in Game 4. Bojan open three again.
Wow.
Can't
He
finish
misses
it. And
again.
Bojan
Only
really
1 for
struggling
5
in this
right
Game
now.
4.
And
They've
that's
gotten
surprising.
Open looks after his huge third quarter in Game 3. He's not been able to do much. A Schroeder open three by Paul, no good.
We're
And
seeing
Ed Davis with another
heat up.
rebound. And we'll see if the Jazz try to get him the ball here. Obviously, Steven Adams on him. Tough matchup for him.
And Bojan Bogdanovic has gotten the shots he's needed in this, but he's just missing wide open threes. You can't do much as a Jazz fan. Oh, Ed Davis might be there again. No, it's Mitchell, and he's blocked before he even puts it up.
And I believe that was Dennis Schroeder who was able to get Mitchell from behind. And now a
and the
three
Thunder
ball by
cannot
Paul,
answer.
no good.
The Thunder have had chances to really
Yeah.
pull away in this game, and they just can't.
And the Thunder now, have had as you said, a couple of opportunities here to really pull ahead, but off their misses, the Utah Jazz have not been able to score as well, which has kept this lead at about a 6 to 8 point deficit. As now Ed Davis almost loses it. He does lose it out of bounds off of Diallo. Oh no, it's off of Ed Davis. Ed Davis tips out of bounds. Thunder basketball up 6 here with a minute 44 left in the second quarter. My bad.
And you got to get the ball out of Ed Davis's hands when he's struggling like that. Donovan Mitchell and Bojan Bogdanovic were trying to cut to the lane, or at least to the three-point line. He's got to pass that off. He knows he's been hot this quarter, though, and that's just been from offensive rebounds and on defense with blocks.
Well, you think that maybe they try to get Ed Davis down low, but as Mike
Oh, and he's
Conley
going to be
takes a
there
tough
again!
jump. Oh,
Wow!
Ed Davis again! Oh, man. And how about this? Mike Conley able to dribble into the paint, get Steven Adams up off of his defense on Ed Davis, and Ed Davis curls around the shot there and able to finish with a two-handed flush. Ed Davis making his presence known here off the bench here in Game 4. Oh, and Chris Paul with a beautiful step back, no good.
And
Adams
there's
rebound,
Steven
Adams
Adams. Does it
finishes.
right back. And
And
if you're
just
a
like the
Jazz,
Jazz play before, you saw Chris Paul driving in the lane. There's and now Dort with our steal off of Conley, and Luguere's Dort throws down two-handed flush. Go ahead, Big Jake.
if you're a Utah fan right now, you're pretty much thinking Ed Davis is keeping you in this game, as they could easily be down 15 plus at this point, but it's only an 8-point game.
Well, you'd have to say that at this point. Is Mitchell
Wow,
throws up
another
another
tough
tough shot. Ed Davis's offensive rebounds have been huge here in the second quarter and kept the Jazz
And,
somewhat
ooh.
close to this game. Bogdanovich has missed threes, he's missed shots, and he's really struggled here. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander going to the line, makes his first and makes his second. And SGA now has been the star so far of this Game 4, trying to close out this series for the Thunder at home. The Jazz are going to need a huge second half run. And you see them dribble down the clock here. And I'd like to point out my man R. Hayes is going to step in for me here at halftime to talk about the game with you, Big Jake, because I have some technical difficulties I have to take care of.
Sounds good, big game. And that'll be our halftime score, as Utah is up. Utah is down in this one, as the Thunder have been led by SGA's huge first half performance with 14 points. Utah shooting 30% right now, while OKC shooting 52%. Utah may be dominating the glass by 4 rebounds, but OKC's steal numbers and their playmaking has led them to a 10-point lead. Ed Davis with 6 points, 7 rebounds. It's been a pretty good performance out of him, but the 14 points and 3 rebounds out of SGA, you can't ask for much more out of one of your stars if you're OKC. All right, and we're going to go to the second half right away. We're going to start the second half as we have OKC up 29-19 over the Jazz, and SGA is just going to continue where he left off. Another layup, and this is a 12-point game. The Jazz are not careful here. They're looking at elimination early. And that is a terrible shot by Bojan Bogdanovic. He needs to slow down the offense like they did in Game 3, and it's the fast break game for OKC as they're just dominating here. At one point in the second quarter, this was a 6-point game as Ed Davis had a lot of offensive rebounds leading to dunks or layups. But at this point, it's starting to become out of reach if Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert and even X factors like Mike Conley and Bojan Bogdanovic don't start shooting well. Mike Conley for 3, no good. And that'll be 0 points last 2:17. This is now up to a 16-point lead. Oh, Bogdanovic, wide open 3. He just continues to struggle in the first and second half. And this is going to go up to an 18-point lead. And if you're a Jazz fan, you cannot watch this one, as this has just been a true struggle. Oh, but Bogdanovic, he misses a wide open layup. Oh my goodness. He is 1 for 8 after his great Game 3. We're going to need a miracle here if you need the Jazz to win this one. Mike Conley for three. He hits it. It's now a 15-point game. Chris Paul coming in mid-range. Oh, and Steven Adams is there once again. You know, Chris Paul does a great job bringing Rudy Gobert on the help side, leaving Steven Adams wide open off the miss for an easy finish. And Bogdanovich now 1 for 9. And this Jazz team is falling apart in game 4. And one. SGA can extend this to a 20-point lead for the Thunder. If the Jazz are not in desperation mode at this point, this series is all but over. Oh, and it's an and one. Wow, and they just can't stop the Thunder in the fast break. Diallo with the easy finish off the foul. And that free throw will bring this up to a 22-point lead. Oh, Mitchell finally scores in the paint. It's just been a struggle for him in game 4. Rudy Gobert, I think that's actually going to be, yeah, it is a foul on Rudy Gobert. I don't know what he was doing on that. Really extended his body way too much on that one. Joe Ingles trying to get in the post, and he gets it easily stolen by Nerlens Noel. And it's going to be another pass, Diallo for the slam. Embarrassing performance out of the Utah Jazz. Wow. And if you're going to pinpoint a blame on someone this game, it's got to be the offense. As overall as a team, the Jazz have only showed up one game this series, and they're more known as a defensive team, and they can't even stop OKC in the fast break other than in game 3. And when you get swept at home, as the Raptors did as well, it's going to be pretty hard to come in to OKC and win back-to-back games and go back home and win in Utah. Just as we saw with the Raptors, they may have had a lead early, but it was tough for them to hold that. They actually ended up choking in game 4, and the Nets took the series, and the Thunder are probably going to do that in this one. Clarkson going in, fadeaway, no good. Dennis Schroeder going in the paint. He's going to finish. 24-point lead for OKC. Oh, and it seems our play-by-play is finally back as Jerry seemed to fix the technical difficulties.
Yes. Shout out to Jerry. Obviously, Jerry ran over and fixed the difficulties that we had. Obviously, Wi-Fi an issue here. in Oklahoma City with recent tornadoes. But we pray everyone's okay, and we made sure everything's all right, and I'm ready back to go. And obviously, you saw during my absence, as big Jake filled you in on the action, Oklahoma City really opened up a lead here. And
And
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has shown tonight why he is a superstar in the coming in this league. He's shown out here in a closeout game at home, and they're gonna go on to face the Lakers or Trailblazers in the semifinals. And for this Oklahoma City team, nobody expected this. I mean, they were not even projected to make the playoffs after they traded both Paul George and Russell Westbrook. And here they make the playoffs as the 5 seed and win the first round here against the Jazz 3-1. And nothing to take away but absolute victories for the Thunder. I mean, you got Shea Gilgeous-Alexander showing out here. He's a superstar. You have Chris Paul, who struggled in games. They've still won games, and he's hit shots late. And the bench for Oklahoma City has really answered the Utah Jazz's, and the Jazz. I mean, disappointing loss. I won't be surprised. I won't be surprised if they trade Gobert or Mitchell this offseason after this tough defeat in the first round. I mean, this is a tough lost season for the Utah Jazz, in my opinion.
yeah, and this is embarrassing. This is a team that seemed like they were finally going to step up in the playoffs and win a first round matchup after recent struggles, but it was a rough patch so far in these 4 games. They had one good game in game 3, but losing at home back-to-back games against a team that doesn't have the star power that you do, but they just seem like they wanted the game or in series way more than the Jazz did.
Well, Schroeder hits a 3 there, and well, like we said after the first 2 games when they did lose in Utah, Big Jake, we discussed how poorly they used Rudy Gobert. They did not give him the ball enough. He was not offensive rebounding, and it was just they just struggled game after game at home. And even in game 3, they still played decently. They played a lot better than they did in games 1 and 2, and they won the game. And obviously, in that game, they played a lot better defense because the Thunder shot so poorly. But a disappointing series loss here for the Utah Jazz. I mean, there's no other way to explain it. And I think you'd agree the same that this is a tough loss season for them.
Yeah, especially with the signing of Mike. You signed Mike Conley to a deal after trading for him. You signed Bojan Bogdanovic, who's been a clutch second or third option in the East, now to be your third or fourth option as well. And you trade for Clarkson. You thought you had it all set to at least get to the second round and maybe give the Lakers a run for their money. But you're not even going to get past the Thunder. And big game, as we look for destinations for Rudy Gobert, where do you think he will end up landing?
Well, you've heard rumblings about the Knicks. You know, the last how many years they couldn't sign key free agents, and obviously the draft picks didn't land their way for the number 1 overall picks. And so, you know, this last offseason, they used a lot of money on power forwards and things on 1 or 2 year deals, you know, prove it deals to see if they should be worth or you know, possible trade candidates at trade deadlines because the Knicks were going to be bad. And they have a lot of cap room. And, you know, Rudy Gobert signed that big extension. And so I wouldn't be surprised if you see the New York Knicks maybe be a potential landing spot for Rudy Gobert to start a centerpiece of something. You know, they need a center stone for their franchise to get back rolling here. So they could make a trade or two this offseason, maybe land Gobert and land another superstar. And we'll see what they can do. And we'll see if the Jazz even decide to trade him. You know, that's still a potential that they keep him and they ride this out another season. But I don't know. It's just tough for me to believe that at this point.
You know, another key thing is Donovan Mitchell has looked terrible in this series. We know Rudy Gobert hasn't been given the ball to have a chance much in this series offensively, but Donovan Mitchell has been the reason, I think, for this series loss. Utah as a whole hasn't played well defensively. As we could see, the Thunder are shooting over 75% in the second half. How is that even possible? of a defense to allow that high of a percentage.
It
And
is incredible, especially especially with Rudy Gobert, a two-time Defensive Player of the Year. You know, he'd have to be playing. Oh, it's another layup allowed. Gallinari that time of the fish. As you know, if Rudy Gobert is playing with a whole bunch of scrubs at the park, maybe they'll get that much good shoot percentage. But no, he's playing with real NBA players and potential superstar Donovan Mitchell. He has a super good player, Mike Conley. Obviously, Royce O'Neal is known for his defense as well. And you're allowing this out of the Thunder. Disappointing. Very disappointing.
big game, do you think there's any chance after this poor clutch performance on Donovan Mitchell that maybe the Jazz front office changes their mind and they do decide to keep Rudy Gobert?
Well, they're going to need something they'll have to figure out after this playoffs is how to set the rotation. You know, do you keep Joe Ingles at starting after, benching him here in these playoffs for Royce O'Neal? Or do you take Royce O'Neal, take him out of the starting lineup, And what do you do between the Mitchell and Mike Conley thing? There's rumbles this past season that he was going to be benched, and then remember change to Joe Ingles. So you wonder maybe would they be better fit with Mike Conley coming off the bench, being a scorer off the bench, than starting with this group since they have Mitchell and Gobert and Boyan. You want to take shots away, gain more shots, but you just don't know what their plan is, and right now it's obviously struggled.
Oh, and Tucker's blocked. And he's going to go for a third time. Cannot finish. And we're going to start seeing some deep bench players here as this is a 26-point lead. And these OKC fans are excited to get in the second round in a year. They might have been a lottery pick, yet the players on this roster have stepped up and created great chemistry to get them here as they win this series 3-1 very soon. Oh, and Ed Davis swats it, though. And big game, we look at the matchup coming up. How do the Thunder line up with either the Lakers or Portland after Portland won a game earlier tonight to extend the series to Game 4?
Well, if they end up playing the Lakers, who are up 2-1 in that series, they're gonna just need a matchup with LeBron and AD. Like, how do you do that? Do you play Steven Adams on Davis, or do you keep him on McGee? When they start, it's tough. And so they need big scoring outputs in that series from Chris Paul and SGA, of course. And if they end up playing the Blazers, who could come back from being down 2-0, now got tied up, scored a Game 3 win, or up 2-1. You wonder if the Blazers advance, you're playing against Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. And those two teams have, last year in the playoffs, you think obviously a lot of these Thunder players aren't on the roster anymore, but they got killed on Damian Lillard deep three. So you wonder maybe in that series did Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum figure out the defense that Oklahoma City was playing, and that's why they succeeded. We'll see what happens here in both these series.
That's a good point, except this is a whole different Thunder team at this point. Russell Westbrook and Paul George are no longer there, and we're going to see Chris Paul and SGA match up against those two guards. And this game's Jazz very disappointing end of their season as they lose 63-37, a 27-point victory on their home court for the Thunder. This series ends here as we head to our post-game show. And big game, we know the player of the game, SGA. He dominated in the fast break. He dominated when the game got close in the second quarter. 19 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, adds a steal, and he shoots 7 from 8. Anyone else who stands out for you there on the Thunder?
Well, and I'm going to add to SGA's stat line a plus 29 plus minus differential. Boom. Look at that right there. That stands out the most. How about that? He was out there for almost every possession that they went up and up and up and score. And everyone for the Thunder scoring here, they all shot pretty well. I mean, plus 31 Steven Adams. How about this, man? The Thunder win this series in a blowout fashion, destroying the Jazz and putting their indent in the history books for a team that nobody predicted to be in the playoffs to turn out to be a 5 seed and now go to the semifinals to possibly play the 1 seed Lakers. Like, how about this? What a storyline in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, and you're right there, big game. And we go to the disappointment that the Jazz were in the series. Mike Conley leads the team with 10 points. He showed up in game 3 and he showed up once again in this, but it was too late as Rudy Gobert only taking 4 shots and Ed Davis with 5. They dominated the offensive glass, but after that second quarter, there was really no action after that. And Jordan Clarkson with 5. And we scroll on. Donovan Mitchell, 2 for 9. Bogdanovich, 1 for 9. Any other low points for the Jazz in this one big game?
Well, no, you see it right there, back down. Bogdanovich, they tried to get him shots early after his huge third quarter in game 3. He missed them, almost all of them. Obviously, shot 1 from 9. And Donovan Mitchell struggles again, yet again. As I said before the series, Donovan Mitchell had a potentially imprint in this series if he could pull this series off, with a huge win in this series comeback. Because, we questioned whether he's a superstar or not. Because I do. I think he's in that middle class. I do not think he's there yet. And the Jazz fans and other NBA superstars believe that he is. And in this series, he didn't show up, and that's very disappointing. And they cost the Jazz the series. And that's all I gotta say. Just very disappointing for the Jazz. They gotta think about how they lost and how they're gonna trade anybody this offseason. You gotta look at it that way.
And that should do it for us in OKC, as we've had 3 series end tonight. The Bucks beat the Magic 3-0 in the first round. Well, the Lakers cannot end it tonight as Portland extends it to a game 4. The Raptors fall to the Nets in a major choke in the second half, and the Nets will move on to the second round 3-1. Now the Jazz also lose to the Thunder in blowout fashion, and the Thunder will advance to the second round 3-1. We'll have 3 more games for you tomorrow, and we will see you soon. Thank you for joining us tonight.